It's late October on a beautiful sunny day, and we're down checking out a quarry with the Walker Club. So let's go see if we can find anything interesting. At this location, you can find Celestine is the big thing. Some nice blue Celestine, so we'll see if we can find any of that. So here's an example of that Celestine I was talking about. It looks pretty fragile, so it probably won't fare well, but I'll see if I can extract some. So I just split this rock into multiple parts. Maybe there's some pockets behind there that are still partially intact. So we'll try and just kind of pry this off for you guys to see, and we'll see if we got anything interesting. Pop back. Oop. And you can see just how fragile this stuff is. It's like really thin blades. My thought process was correct, but this stuff's so fragile it just fractures up. I didn't even know that bug was behind there. So it looks like my friend Jacob has done pretty well finding some bigger, bluer Celestine. Seems to be, if you kind of look here, so there's this, he pointed this out, there's this kind of lighter beige striped layer, and then all of a sudden it transitions to this darker grayer, like a dolomite limestone, and that's what it seems to have, the blue Celestine in it. Here's a nice chunky example, crystal chunk. But yeah, that's what people are after here. So there's a bunch of material that's just spilt out. Now this section we can only collect at the bottom, so I'm just grabbing the scraps that have fall to the bottom. And you can see there's some Celestine here, but most of it is like broken and fractured up. But you get some nice like clusters of blades. And then I flipped this guy over, and it looks like that's filled with some half decent crystal points in there. So I might take that over to one of the members who has a saw just to saw it out. So I've just been digging out this bottom material that's sloughed down after the blast, and I found this guy. It's got some good intact blades on it, so that's pretty nice. This will be quite fragile, so I'll have to be very careful with it. I mean, they're not all there, but that's got some nice blue blades of Celestine in there. This one was found by my friend Jacob, but he didn't want it since he's not too big into micro minerals. But you can see that purple color, that's all like a light fluorite druze, and then there's some calcite in there too. So that's a cool little neat little specimen. But the fluorite here, it doesn't seem to get super big. The examples I've seen online are basically like a light druze. You can find some calcite here. Here's a smaller example. And then there are also some fossils that you can find. These look like they're silicafied. So in the middle of the quarry, there's just this drainage ditch that has been dug out. But it has, hello Jacob. It has basically dug, like when they dug this, it went straight through a layer that seems to have some pockets of Celestine crystals. And these are a couple that I pulled out. This one seems to have a little bit of blue and some zoning in it, so I'm pretty happy with that. My friend Jacob down there, he hit a very good pocket with some very nice crystals. But yeah, not exactly what you'd expect in a quarry, but it's kind of cool that there's that we can do this type of stuff here. Now this is a lot better as far as calcite goes. Some decent crystals with some good color to them. Hopefully once they dry off, they're not too water worn, because they did come from the edge of the little drainage ditch. Thought I'd at least video this pocket of nice clear celestite blades. So this stretch of water is too deep for our car to wade across, but I don't need to worry about that. I've got my steel toe rubber boots. So I just threw those on, and I kind of just took the shallowest parts because it is a bit soft, so that's the big issue with the vehicles. But with the boots on, it's not that bad. Baited over. I'm just gonna check this out. I've been told that there's a little bit of some juicy fluorite that could be found over here, or was found over here, and some calcite stuff. Actually, in fact, the trip lead, he left some of the stuff he found here. So we've got some calcites, as you can see. But I'm gonna just poke around, see if there's anything interesting. Speaking of which, here's that druzy fluorite material, and a bunch more like Celestine and calcite material by the looks of it. Pretty cool. You can see that purple, that's the druzy fluorite. This one almost looks like it's actually the inside of a gastropod. Pretty sure that's what it is. That's kind of cool. I think I'll take that one. Here's another cool piece. It's just a whole bunch of very like tiny little fragile Celestine blades and the nice fluorite druze. You can see that there's some fluorite crystals here that are probably maybe at the largest like 2 or 3 millimeters in size, but those seem very uncommon. For example, I think the one right there where my finger is pointing right there, that's probably about a 2 to 3 millimeter piece. But it's a cool little thing to look at. I don't think I'll be able to extract it with the tools I have, so I'm just going to leave it alone. So here we have some of the specimens cleaned up. Thought I'd show you some of the stuff that I collected on this trip. Now, as far as the calcites go, they were all kind of found in like these cavities, and some of the cavities got pretty big. I only really collected ones with smaller cavities. I believe it's some sort of void left over from a decomposed organism. I believe the rock is here is like Ordovician in age. Somebody mentioned the name, but I forgot it, so I sent out an email to somebody who might know. Hopefully I get an answer back, but it could maybe be stromatolites, but I don't think so. I found one, I'll show you guys the other one, that seems to have like a gastropod imprint also in the mix, though one of the triple leads wasn't too sure, but it reminds me of the internal structure of a gastropod, which is kind of cool. But these are some nice calcite pockets with some nice lustrous, kind of light yellow, light honey colored calcites. Here's the one with the gastropod structure, possible gastropod structure. If we hold it this way, it might be gastropod, but I'm not 100% sure. It looks to me to be gastropod in shaped, like one of the longer ones, but who knows. We also got some larger pockets, some nicer calcites in there. Some of the coloration on those calcites is quite fantastic. Speaking of which, along that trench where we found some of those Celestine crystals, I also managed to find some calcite in the mix, and the crystals were a little bit bigger, and well, on camera it doesn't show up as well, but these are more of like a orangey golden color. This one you can see it a bit better for whatever reason. Maybe it's because the crystal is bigger. But you can see that's a large single crystal. Pretty cool find, I'd have to say. Now, a lot of the Celestine I found was quite shattered. This was a thin piece that had some intact crystals along the edge. So I took it home and trimmed it up and got a nice piece with like a nice clustering of intact, thin, clear Celestine or Celestite crystals. Now here are some of the kind of chunks I brought home that I will probably do something with, maybe like polish them up into some free-form shapes. Maybe have my cousin make some jewelry out of them. She does some jewelry craft as a hobby, so maybe I'll have to do that. So this is small, but it's a nice little kind of clustering of multiple terminated Celestine blades. A nice clarity too. As far as Celestine goes, I'd say the stars of the show were definitely these blades that we found in the trench, the multicolored, kind of multi-zoned Celestine blades. There's a bit of damage to the terminations, but terminations are like these really, you can kind of see very thin feathers, and then you get this zoning of like a bit like lighter clear and then blue. In person, these edges are a bit of like a light blue, but they don't show up as well. But you can see that there's like multiple generations of growth, and then at the end they were covered in these basically frosted tips. It's just kind of funny. Not like the haircut, but these frosted Celestine tips. This one, it's kind of more obvious. You can see that the edges are blue. And another example. This one popped off right off of a piece of matrix. This one we got a little bit of the matrix at the contact zone left, and it's two blades that have kind of intersected. Probably one of my favorite ones. The zoning is nice and clear and see-through on these thinner ones. And then another example of multiple intersecting blades, but you can see this one must have been in the kind of like a corner of the pocket, because you got a blade going like this way, and then you got a blade going this way. But yeah, these were pretty exciting. Last but not least, we have the kind of amalgam of thin Celestine blades, calcite and frosted fluorite. Camera doesn't really pick up the purple color well. It looks like a really light purple on the camera, but in person it's a much more vibrant dark purple. But yeah, the purple is really washed out on these. I don't know if it's maybe the filter on my phone. Hopefully it is, because else these look really washed out, like the faintest hint of purple on some of these, but in person they look a lot better. I'll throw up some close-ups, some micro pictures of these, just to kind of see. Like the crystals, the fluorite itself is super fine. Like most of the crystals probably don't get above like 0.5 millimeter in size. That's probably even big for most of them. But they just kind of frost this kind of what I like to call like a Celestine nest, like these really thin Celestine blades. I've kind of just grown in this kind of cracked, porous limestone. But they look really cool under the microscope. And here we have another piece. It's a little calcite pocket, but it has some of that purple druzy fluorite as well. I'll try to throw up some pictures of that one as well. But yeah, pretty interesting. I found a couple other pieces with some micros on them. I'll throw them up. I had one fossil that had a dusting of what looks to be kind of orange sphelerite, which I don't know if that's a first, but that's a first I've heard of coming from this location. So that was kind of cool to find. But yes, some of the micros from this look quite fascinating. This brings us to the end of the video. Please, in the comments below, let me know what you found the most interesting or what you liked the most. Please also like and subscribe if you haven't already. It helps out the channel. I'm trying to get to 3,000 and I'm a couple hundred off, so hopefully we can get to that in the next couple months. That would be super cool. But yeah, please folks, just have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys in the next video.